doing great. I mean, she's a doctor, so what else are you gonna expect? What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Team Acne. Today we're back with another reaction video. We're gonna react to a video called When is Acne Not Acne? And this is by Dr. Sam Bunting, Decoding Fungal Acne. So this should be very interesting because I think a lot of us don't really know if we have fungal acne or not and what to do with it. So let's just jump right into it.
Now, I saw two patients in clinic this week that compelled me to do this video. Both were cases of acne that was not acne. So in the first instance, a patient had been misdiagnosed, given oral antibiotics, and despite numerous months of treatment had not got better. And the problem was affecting her face. The second was someone with acne on the face that was given oral antibiotics that then developed acne on the body. So when is acne not acne? Well, it's when there's an infection in the follicles by a bug called Malassezia, or what it used to be known as Pityrosporum. And this is not a bacteria, it's a yeast. Now, this particular yeast is on all of our skins all the time, but it flourishes in humid conditions and in oily follicles.
Okay, so right off the bat, she already knows what she's talking about. So I have looked into fungal acne before, and I know it was a yeast thing, and I had kind of gone in and out of like learning more about it. But recently I watched a Hiram video, and he really went into Malassezia and really went into detail on it. Definitely got to give kudos to him because it was a really solid video. Definitely you should check that out as well if you want more info on this. But right off the bat, she's doing great. I mean, she's a doctor, so what else are you gonna expect?
So typically our skin becomes colonized around the time of puberty when those hormones switch on our oil glands and we get T-zone changes, combination skin, possibly some acne as well. So what's happening that we misdiagnose it as acne? So acne itself is a process that is primarily comedonal in origins. So it's also a disease of too much oil, but the primary lesion is a comedone, so blackheads and whiteheads. Downstream of those comedones, you tend to get inflammatory lesions, which are red bumps, what we call papules, pustules, which are red bumps with white tops on the heads, nodules, and cysts. And you often get any number of different inflammatory lesions with acne at any one time. And I think the really key finding with adult female acne is the tendency for it to affect the lower face. Now let's switch over to fungal acne. This tends to cause tiny, what we call monomorphic, which basically means that they all look the same. So not this variation that you see in acne where you get these papules or pustules or nodules and cysts, which all look different to each other. So these are tiny monomorphic lesions. And they tend to affect areas, again, where there's lots of oil glands, but in clinic, I tend to see people with issues on the forehead and the temples. So lots of these tiny little red dotted lesions scattered over those oilier parts of the skin. On the body, it can tend to affect the V of the chest, and the same on the back. The areas, again, where the oil glands are most dense.
I feel like we're getting like a masterclass right here. A lot of videos, they don't cut to the chase and you don't get the info that you want, but this goes right to it. So already I'm stoked with this. And it's interesting too to find out that there's a certain area that it affects. And that is kind of actually what I've noticed with a lot of people who mention that they don't know if they have acne or not. And they send like a picture and they're like, is this like pimples, or is this candida, or is this fungal acne? And it generally is kind of around the eyebrow area and forehead area. So that's very interesting. And it's also interesting that it kind of comes in the V area of the upper body as well. So yeah, this is awesome so far.
What can complicate matters further is that it may well exist in context of another skin problem like acne, like seborrheic dermatitis, which is also triggered by the same yeast, or even rosacea. So first things first, make the diagnosis. So when someone comes in to see me in the clinic, the first thing I do is to examine their history and their medications for anything that might contain a triggering factor. So if they've had acne medications that contain antibiotics, or they've had oral antibiotics, sometimes for something completely unrelated, to make sure that we get rid of that in the first instance. That will then allow the natural flora balance to reset, so that instead of killing off all the healthy bacteria, which allows the yeast to overgrow, the healthy bacteria can rise up and re-establish a healthy microbiome. The next thing I'll do is to treat with an oral antifungal agent. I tend to use fluconazole. This gives the speediest resolution of problems, and usually by the time someone has got to me, things are quite extensive or significant or have been present for some time, so we want rapid resolution of their symptoms. The azole group of medications can sometimes cause tummy upset and are broken down by the liver, so it's important to take a good history and ensure the patient is suitable for this kind of medication. The next thing I'll do is to look at their...
Okay, so you probably just saw me pulling hairs off my microphone. I didn't realize I dropped it on the ground, and you probably already noticed it, but there was little hairs on my microphone, so don't hate me for that. Interesting also, though, is that she says she usually goes through the antibiotic route. She did mention that like it saves good bacteria while killing the bad bacteria and then lets it all reset. I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? But from what I know, antibiotics don't discriminate. They just like destroy all of your gut microbiome. Like it just goes after all bacteria. And so I think what she more so was saying is that it kind of just kills everything, and then it allows a reset to happen where hopefully your body is, you know, favoring the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria. But there's a lot of things that factor into gut bacteria. And if you are the reason that your gut bacteria is messed up and you have more bad bacteria than good, then if you do the same thing after you take antibiotics, then you're probably going to end up in the same position where you end up having an imbalance of bad bacteria, which is called dysbiosis. So I would say that, you know, again, I'm not a doctor, but if you do what she's doing, antibiotics, then I think you should also do something to reintroduce good probiotics into your body, like have lots of vegetables that have prebiotic fibers, and then also have something that's fermented like kombucha or like sauerkraut or kimchi. That's what I would personally do to reintroduce good bacteria into my diet. And then I would also figure out, what am I doing that's screwing up my gut so much? Am I having tons of like, you know, Splenda and aspartame and like no calorie sweeteners? Am I having like a ton of alcohol? Am I having a ton of like junk food, preservatives? Am I having anything that's really like causing inflammation in my gut? And then I would focus on that. And then of course she says she goes and gives people an antifungal medication. So yeah, this is awesome.
Skincare, and to make sure they're not using any topical facial oils which might encourage growth of this yeast even further. I tend to recommend products like Avène moisturizers, so their Tolerance Extreme Emulsion is a favorite, as is the Avène Recovery Cream Light, and a bland, unfragranced, preservative-free cleanser like La Roche-Posay Toleriane Dermo Cleanser. I'll then see that patient probably 4 to 6 weeks later to assess response to treatment and to think about maintenance. Some patients will need to go on to use a topical antifungal wash. I tend to use something like ketoconazole, which is known as Nizoral, and using that 3 times a week on the skin, allowing it to sit for a couple of minutes, can just help lower the natural amount of yeast that exists on the skin and reduce the risk of triggering a relapse. And relapse is unfortunately quite common in this condition. Other things to think about are, once we've treated the fungal acne, is there any other pathology that needs treatment? As I said before, it's not uncommon for this to coexist with ordinary acne vulgaris. They're both diseases of the oil glands after all. So it may well be that a retinoid or azelaic acid or some benzoyl peroxide needs to be added into the mix once the first problem has resolved. So I hope that's made it seem clearer.
Okay, so I think that was a really good video. I think the hard thing is when you have fungal acne, I guess, it's hard because in your brain, you don't know. You know, you're like, is it fungal or is it actually acne vulgaris? And then most of the time, it's not just one or the other, it's a mix, like she's saying. And so that makes it even more difficult because you're like, okay, well, this is clearly what she's saying, you know, whiteheads, comedones, blackheads, pustules, papules, but is this fungal acne? And so I think that's the hard part. And really what I got out of this video is that there may be some things that you can do to treat yourself. Like she was saying that there's antifungal topicals that you can use, but it also sounded like it's gonna be a lot easier if you go see an expert and they can kind of take a close look at your skin, run you through a regimen that's probably more effective because they can give you prescription, you know, topicals and antibiotic pills and whatnot, and be able to like monitor it at a better rate than what you're doing. And it also give you more confidence that what you're doing isn't a waste of your time, and maybe isn't making your acne worse, or you're doing something that's making things worse in your gut. So A very interesting video. I know a lot of people have asked me to do a fungal video before, so I wanted to review someone who really knows what they're talking about, because for me, fungal acne has never been an issue. So it's not something that I know a ton about. It's just something that I've learned about because I think it is interesting. But yeah, I clearly don't want to spread any misinformation by just like spouting off some stuff that I just read. I want to stick to what I really hardcore know and feel like I'm very good at. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that reaction video. As always, if you guys want to check out Banish, it is my favorite skincare brand in the world. You can use my code Brian5, $5 off order of $50 or more. It is the best skincare brand for acne scarring, for hyperpigmentation, discoloration, and just in general healthy skin texture. And also, if you guys want to check out my #1 tip for healing up your acne, improving your acne, you can definitely check that out. I'll put the link to that in the description below. It's completely a free ebook I put together just to help you guys out. And with that, my friends, it brings us to the end of the video. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let us know what your experience with fungal acne is in the comments and what you thought about this video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let me know what you want to see in future videos. With that, remember, you are not alone, you are beautiful, and you're a part of Team Acne. See you guys next video.